of your social.
It's your mother's maiden name again?
That's
Can you
right.
spell that?
That's right.
You can trust us.
And are you a Mario or a Luigi? I feel like that's a life question. That would have been a better question for yesterday, I guess.
Nobody's the princess. Princess doesn't want to be rescued, by the way. She's
Our-
in the tower eating
Our
cupcakes.
princess is not in another castle. We have Shelli Johnson. Nobody's princess, though. I think she's.
Your mom says sounds interesting.
My mom's interesting.
Your mom
That
is
sounds like one of
interesting.
those reverses of like those insults. Your mom's interesting.
We make your mom jokes in my house all the time because it's so funny because I am the mom. So I'm like, your mom is annoying.
That's right.
And then they're like, oh, yeah.
Jay, oh, you know what? Jay Medwetz from Edison McCarthy. So we're going to learn about furniture. Maybe a good
And illumination.
Illumination will be lit up with ideas. That's the worst.
No, but it really changes. It could change a whole event.
Peekaboo. Backpack show.
I did that just for you.
You're like setting it up.
I'm like looking at it.
It's like when you lose for the kids at like chess or something.
Oh my god, no, that's not a setup. I am terrible at chess.
Never gets old.
I think I've played twice, no, 3 times, and one time I just Forrest Gump my way to victory once. That was it.
Everybody knows when I started the Backpack Show 2 iterations ago when it was point of contact, I was only guaranteed my mom and dad showing up. So it's apropos that my mom and dad are the first comments. We have people all over, Carol and her whole family are off vacationing somewhere. So Lord knows where. Allison Lee is off vacationing somewhere.
Stop! Don't perpetuate that. Just like that.
Yeah. So she's gonna bite into that. Hey, we're sponsored by StreamYard, by the way. cbrogan.me/StreamYard. If you want to make your own show, only less good, you could do it on StreamYard. cbrogan.me/StreamYard.
Sounds interesting.
Oh, it is interesting. We should just keep that comment for every show. Sounds interesting.
People need insights for their backpack. Jack Vincent says, "Hey, amigos."
Jack Vincent is here. Oh, show's over. Hang on. Oh, show's over.
Stop it.
Sorry, Jack. Catch
Stop
you later.
it.
Oh,
show is not over. Shelli and Jay are backstage just waiting to come out and share their insights with everybody.
Shelli Johnson climbed back down the side of a mountain. She avoided a buffalo. There is not a single geyser to be seen in the shot, but she's here now. Shelli Johnson, good to see you. How are you?
Great. Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Hi. So you are like out in the wilderness, lots of space to ramble.
Yes, out on the frontier, quite literally.
Yes, a lot of family adventures lately, where the kind of COVID has put us in our tracks. I've seen your superhero named children out doing lots of fun things, like in the water and other places.
Yes, yeah.
What's that been like?
Pardon?
Aquaman. He said your superhero named children.
Yeah, Aquaman. That's great. Wolf is our oldest son. I think that's what you're referring to. Is that right?
Indeed. But they all have very adventurous names. They surely don't have accountant names, Shelli.
Yes, you're right. That's very intentional because of the last name Johnson. So all of their names do have very specific meanings.
Think about it, Wolf Johnson. That is the best name. That is an actual legal name I've ever heard.
Well, thank you.
You get credit. So there's plenty of coaches. I usually say lots of bad things about coaches. I usually say that they're those live, laugh, learn, love kind of people and all that. You really take it a whole different way. I mean, you show people an edge and a place and give them a chance. It was really interesting. I've known you for years now. This is our first interview, but I've known you for years and just sort of thought on credit, so to speak, about all the good stuff you do. But your fan base around your coaching is huge too. A lot of people really dig not just your message, but what you've done for their life. Talk a little bit about how that transformation works.
Well, first of all, thanks so much. And I for the record, I can't stand the word life coach. I know that's what I am, but
I called you adventure coach. Is that good?
Yeah, that's better. That's better. I'm like a champion for hire, which I don't know if you like that any better, but I think a life coach, I've never liked that word because it suggests that I have it all figured out. And I don't. Like, I'm doing the work every day like everyone else. But to answer your question, I think, I think the key is, people think of me. I think it's safe to say people think of me as this kind, loving, compassionate, likable person. But I take this coaching really seriously. You know, we have one life, and I think, you know, the biggest regret of people when they get to the end of their life is that they didn't have the courage to live the life they wanted to live. I've worked with probably 200 coaches in the last 9 years, and I would say that's it. One of the hardest things, I think maybe the hardest thing any of us can do, is to dare to live the life we want to live and not the one others expect us to live. It's much easier, you know, to kind of just fly under the radar. So I don't know. I try to get people to imagine, you know, who they want to be and what kind of life they want to live, and then really dare them and support them in like living it. So.
Did that start on the schoolyard? Were you the one that's like, lick that pole outside that's frozen?
You know, I don't think it did. Although it's funny, you know, when people, you've heard this before, I'm sure people have written about it, how when people look to reinvent themselves or decide what to do, you know, they're often asked, how did you spend your time as a kid? And there can be some real insights. And I wasn't the person who said lick the pole, but I was the person who was always like, I remember sitting on the step with my dad when I was like 4, and we were watching my older sister, Alicia, and all of her friends race bikes up and down the street. And I said, I want to do that. And my dad said, when you're 5, you know, you can do that. And I remember saying, that makes no sense. You know, I'm able to do it now. So I think it's just this idea of, it does come naturally for me to want to level up and to also believe in other people's potential, sometimes more than they do. And I don't know where that comes from. But
when you, I mean, we all want to think we have epic challenges, but we don't. You know, some of our challenges are ridiculously mundane, you know, in their actual practical application. You know, someone's like, I'm afraid to go on video. I don't know if I can represent. I would get terrified. I was talking to a group of Navy SEALs who thought that public speaking was scary. These are some of the people, they don't ever say who's who. Some of these people were on the raid to get bin Laden. Yes. And they were telling me that was scary. My question is, how do you help translate that epic experience you want them to have to something as simple as, I want to be on screen?
Well, I think a lot of it is trying to help people imagine how they want to be. And then sort of like, this sounds a little cheesy, but sometimes I'll sort of like try to look at myself from the outside and just, do I want to be the one that's speaking and giving this message? Or if someone I love and respect is watching, like, how do I want to show up? I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I also think keeping perspective, like I always, before I do a keynote presentation or something, for me, I just remind myself that I'm human. Like for me, that's really important. I almost don't want to be perfect. So just reminding myself that I actually just want to show up as ordinary. And that helps. I don't know if I'm answering your question now.
Wow. I'm floored by the response, because Epic Shelli says, I want to be ordinary right now.
Yep.
When you say that, what does ordinary then mean? Ordinary means, you said I don't want to be perfect. Yeah. So is that you're trying to push down the perfectionist challenge? Yep. Is that what you're going after there?
That's a great question. Yes, because I think most of the people I know and work with, we set the bar impossibly high. And then we don't do things we want or need to do because we can't bear the thought of letting ourselves down. I also think that I'm an ordinary person. So the reason that I say that is like, I mean, I'm working on some books, but for the most part, I'm just an ordinary person that has made for what for me is an extraordinary life. And I don't know, like I can't really try to be anything other than that. And I think so many of us, like, this is a pet peeve. I'm sorry, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I've been listening to podcasts and I read a bazillion books, and it always kind of gets on my nerves that you have to have written a book or you have to have some high profile to be interviewed. You know what I mean? When I've met some of the most inspiring and remarkable people I've met, they've never written a book. You know what I mean? So.
Do know what you mean.
Carol says, show up as ordinary. I love that. And Carol's showing up while on vacation. And she says, perfectionism and fear of failure cause inhibition in many of us. I think like everyone probably, but you just got to kind of power through it. Like I, as a recovering Catholic, learned to power through guilt. Do what I want. Oh. You just got to sit with it.
Yeah, that guilt is huge, though. That's a big mountain to climb, right?
Hello to Cara, checking in from Scotland. I feel like the Scottish are more adventurous by nature. I don't know if that's fair to say. Hello,
Scott. I don't say a lot of things with a mass accent, but I realize every time you say Cara, I always say Cara Elena. But
I don't know. I could be saying completely wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Probably Kara. It's much more
But Kara says
romantic
she's
sounding.
just getting over fear of failure and starting to have success now because she just goes for things. I think that's the thing. Like once you start betting on yourself, you win, win, win. But up until then, you won't. Shelli, I had a question. You said sometimes you believe in your clients more than they believe in themselves. How do you fix that problem? Because if they don't believe in themselves, they're never going to get anywhere.
Oh, I know. It's I appreciate you picking up on that. So, because some of the feedback I've received is that, and it's not necessarily feedback I'm going for, but some of the feedback I've received from a few people is, I don't believe I can do it, but I don't want to disappoint Shelli. So they end up climbing a mountain, for example. So I'm not going for that, right? Like I do want them to believe in themselves. Ultimately, that's the goal. But I do think that if I believe in them, which I always do, once they have doubts and want to quit or don't believe in themselves, they do it by themselves. I don't carry anyone to the top, right? So or carry someone across the river or help them speak up at their leadership meetings. So they do it eventually. And once they do it themselves, then I think they have self-belief. It's really about becoming actually what we are potentially, right? You do something you don't think you can do, which all of us do, whether we choose it or not. We do this often in our life. We don't have what it takes. We're in over our head. And somehow we do something we didn't think we could do and do it on our own, under our own human power. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, Carrie, but that's how it starts out. I can't help that I believe in people sometimes more than they do. But
they do things, they push themselves past their own self-imposed limits for you, and then afterwards realize they can do it.
Yes, that's true. And I don't think they all do it for me, but yes, in particular, there have been some that told me that in the end. But once they do it on their own, then they believe in themselves. That's been my experience.
Now I don't even want to say it.
Kara or Kara, could be either, because I say Kara. She said it's like Tara, and I said, yeah, like tear things off. I've already probably wrecked it. Seeing other people around you be successful is catching, or should be, but if you don't compare but aspire to do well, when you do your epic adventures and when you get people climbing all over the side of a rock or whatever you do, I don't even know what you do. Make them make spears and throw them at each other. When you do those things, is there that fear or worry, or how do you coach against the dynamic of the alpha person of a small group kind of mucking it up for the not really as far along person in the group?
How do you stop Chris from wrecking it for the rest of us?
Well, fortunately, I've had such great groups. I'm not just saying that. I haven't had any alphas like screw it up, the group dynamic. And usually the adventure is so hard that, there is nothing more humbling, I think, than the wilderness. It does so much of the heavy lifting. And I think a lot of people will sign up because they want to increase their confidence or leadership, but they mostly get the thing they're most surprised about. And one of the most valuable things they get is humility. So even someone who's really great at climbing mountains or who has already climbed a bazillion mountains, there will be something about the expedition that they won't be strong in, and it will be revealed. That's the thing about being in the wilderness. You don't get to say, this is a bad day, I'm going to go home. You're out there and dealing with things in real time. So I haven't really had to deal with that.
What's the difference between people who are naturally adventurous and people who are not and kind of need to learn it?
It's a great question. So first of all, I have to say most of the people who sign up for my programs are novices. I have to say, I've had some adventurous people sign up, but I would say for the most part, people who have never slept in the woods or gone to the bathroom in the woods or climbed a mountain, most of them are from urban areas and sea level. They're the ones signing up. But I would say the difference would be the people who have signed up who are adventurous, they tend to be a little more helpful from the get-go because they're not as uncomfortable. They're more familiar.
We had a mountain climber on recently, and he was like right from his late teen years, just moved from Texas to Alaska. Wow. And was like, I want to do that, and just did it. And I've never understood people like that. It's not unlike what Chris does with businesses and entrepreneurship. There's like a gene or something. But what I'm finding talking to you is that people can learn that, they can kind of express it in themselves.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I think when people sign up, I'm inspired. First of all, it's sort of like cheating because I'm really inspired by people who have the guts to sign up for something that's so unexpected for them. But I also think that it changes the conversation in their life when they do that, you know, because they have something new and completely different to talk about in their life. I think also it tends to, when people sign up, it galvanizes their, you know, need to get in better shape and, you know, turn their health around, maybe. Gives them, they have to do the work, in other words. So sometimes people will sign up, I think, just for that almost, and then they get the expedition as icing on the cake, you know.
Anybody regret it, like halfway up and go, I just want to go back to the library?
Listen, everybody wants to quit during my programs. I want to quit, and it's my program, you know. They're great fun and inspiring too, but it's a lot of hard work and discomfort for all of us, including myself, you know.
That's the thing I find, even when I talk to like Jay, who's coming on, he said he was an Ironman and he'd done Ironman before. And I did just the one, I just did the marathon. I didn't have to do all three things. I was good.
Marathon's good.
You know, what I found was that besides the absolute elites, everyone out there all wanted to quit 100%. You know, like there's nobody out there going, this is so great. You know, like you try to make it through, but you know, somewhere around mile 8, even out of 26.2 miles, you're like, I'm good. And I think that's Jack Vincent had a question, and then I'm going to say goodbye to you, and we're going to bring in Jay. Is do you find that near-death experiences, which I'm pretty sure you don't really hope people have, do you find that they provide a catalyst to go for your potential? I mean, that'd be a weird-ass way to coach. Rattlesnake!
Yeah. Survivor. You know, honestly, what was his name? I don't remember what his name was.
Jack. His name is Jack Vincent. He's very handsome and lives in Europe.
Thank you for the question, Jack. I haven't had any near-death experiences out there, and I'm definitely trying to take them to the edge, but not too close to the edge. So I just can't answer that question. I would
have to look over the edge.
Yeah.
Kara says, I think you have to throw yourself into scary situations, like she did last week with no makeup and no prep.
Yes,
because she very graciously came up. She looked so good, but we brought guests on the show from the audience last week, and she jumped right in. And it sounds like it was scary. So I didn't realize it at the time. She handled it flawlessly.
I think that it was a gentleman, I think originally from New York, who said, you know, I've been to the edge, and there I stood and looked down. You know, I lost a lot of friends there, baby, but I got no time to mess around.
Some gentleman from Boston said they're living on the edge.
David Lee Roth, baby. All right.
I like those lyrics, yeah.
Shelli Johnson, always so glad. Thank you so much for being on our show. It was so fun.
Please don't go away.
Thank you so much for having me. I won't. Thank you so much.
Stick around. Near-death experiences. Well, you know who I think of when I think of near-death experiences? I think Jay. I think Jay's probably had his hand a little too close to a belt grinder or something like that.
Jack says he didn't mean to imply that people nearly die on Shelli's adventures.
Oh, okay. So they have a heart attack and then they go, shit, I better go get Epic. Oh,
correct.
Now I get it.
And that makes more sense.
Look, you story warrior.
That'd be a tough one to get people to pay for. Hey, come on here, I almost die.
Some people want that. I would swim with a great white shark. And that's my scariest thing in the work. I'm so scared. I would have to wear the brown swim costume, whatever you call those things. Wetsuit. Swim costume. I'm from the 20s.
Like the Victorian era.
Save me, Jay Medwetz. Save me.
Shelli says she does, in fact, see Jack. She does see that as a catalyst. Like if people have experienced something like that, they do feel like now they're ready to live the life they want. So, welcome, Jay.
From the middle of Edison McCarthy headquarters, pretty much. How are you, buddy?
Indeed. Right in the heart of it. I'm great. How are you guys?
So good.
Epic.
I love that. To build upon the near-death experience, maybe it's not near your death. I mean, not to get immediately heavy, but I lost my dad like 15 years ago, and literally it was a left turn in my life. Most important influence I'd had, my best friend, and it kicked me in the gut for a bunch of years, and I sat there trying to figure out what I was doing, and that's how I ended up, I think, doing this by hook or crook. I never intentionally was going to be a furniture maker or an illuminator. But I finally said, we get one chance to do this, one shot, one go around, do as many things as you can, find out what you like. And if I wished anything for everyone, is that they get an opportunity to do something that they love, if not like I'm fortunate enough to do for a living. If only a little bit out of the week, find something that you love, that you're good at, and that if it's a side hustle, great. And if it's a hobby, not, but find a way to do something that you truly love and enjoy just because you love it.
Jay, what were you doing before your dad passed, and what were you doing for the few years after? Because I'm curious to know what that transformation was like. We have Coach Scott Woodard on, and he's always asking, you know, what's someone's kind of origin story, and as uncomic booky as well, in a way it's comic booky. I was going to say losing your dad's quite the radioactive spider. What happens after that?
That's kind of an interesting segue there. I was working in radio at the time. I had gone from being a DJ to a program director. I was out in Scottsdale, Arizona. It was great. I had great experiences out there. I loved it. And after he died, I mean, the next year was kind of living on the edge a little bit. I mean, I decided that something that I had always wanted to do, which was race an Ironman. I found a coach and I did it. And if there's one theme that I've seen through all of this, it's perseverance. And maybe I'll touch on that in a second, but I went from that to leaving the radio station and trying to start a company and falling on my face and deciding that I really wanted to be in artist management. So I moved to Nashville and did that for a while. And that was fascinating and educational, and through hook and crook ended up as a chief marketing officer of a company. And then finally, it was the right time to leave, and I did. And I said, I'm going to build some lamps for a little while because I really like this, but I really want to learn to be a better marketer. And I've always had people that did the Facebook advertising, the operational part of it, and I'd never done it. And I figure I'll be a better leader if I know what they're actually doing to do it. And 4.5 years later, I'm making lights and furniture and loving what I do. But the one theme, I think, the perseverance part of it is, I think perseverance is a fancy word for the capacity to suffer and keep a smile on your face and push through, knowing that you're headed somewhere.
What a jump from DJ to all that to, you know, failed company to marketing guy and all that.
Talent management, which is mostly like, I'm sorry, there's no wheatgrass juice in your dressing room, Mr. Atkins. I will get it.
Hey, how'd you know? No, actually not. It's interesting though. I had a friend of mine who's the head of a record label said, "What are you doing that for? Come over and work with us and make the stars instead of carrying guitar cases." And I wasn't actually physically doing that, but in concept, you're absolutely right. It's sort of a you're the facilitator, and I am a much better conductor conductor than I am a soloist, and I am a much better conceiver than I am an executor, especially when it's not something that I need to execute. And being a solopreneur of a furniture company, it's taught me all of that.
Yeah,
furniture,
I was just going to say
illumination. So we got so Carol's advising caution in the comments, like, please don't do anything crazy. And Jack is like, whatever, I only get one chance at this. I'll do whatever I want. So that's fun to watch that unfold. Kara says you had a light bulb moment and she likes your furniture.
Like this.
So yeah, you were like, I'm a better conductor, so I'm going to start a solo biz. I'm a better thinker, so I'm going to have to make things and complete them. I'm on to you. I see what's happened here.
Push myself to my limits and see what's my
like Shelli.
Now, I have to say something else that nobody else would have noticed. Jay does his homework. Jay went back. Jay looked at some stuff. Jay watched a few episodes. So he said about being a DJ, and he said, I had one opportunity, one shot, quote Marshall Mathers. He said, I'm living on the edge, quote Aerosmith. He snuck in song lyrics because he knows that's what we do at the show.
That's what you do.
I didn't mean to do that. I don't know.
Maybe you just talk in albums because you're a radio DJ. I have an awful question, but it kind of relates to a really weird personal thing in my life.
Wait, let me get it ready.
Yeah, get that card. What was the format that you were working at when your dad passed?
Well, we played both kinds of music, country and Western.
Oh, okay. I was asking because there was a really rough time in my life. I was young, so you could blame a lot of it on just being a teenager. But the only music I was inside a factory for a little while, and the only thing that you could hear was like really crappy, sad music. And so I was like, how much extra hard could it be? Country Western, kind of covers that. You know, there's a lot of sorrow.
Oh, there is nothing like having a broken heart and having to play like especially being on the air and you're playing this, the hits you're playing every 3.5 hours. So you can play the same heartbreaking, gut-wrenching song twice in a show, and if it hits you, I mean, it's just, might as well stab yourself twice, right?
Maybe it desensitizes you to a point, though, and after a while you can hear it and it doesn't bother you at all. You can just tune it out like I do with all my kids' stuff.
Well, speaking of kids, Joey and Christopher showed up to say hi to Uncle Jay. So,
Hi, guys.
look
Tell
at that.
me about the name. This is a 90-degree segue, but Edison McCarthy, neither of those names is yours. So tell me about it.
Not completely. McCarthy was the name that I used on the radio for years, and there's a whole industry of people that know me as Jay McCarthy, and that was as part of this transition to I'm gonna take off the tie and I'm gonna do what I love, and the rest of it be damned. I said I'm gonna get rid of that name that I made up that was a persona, and I'm just gonna be me. And if people like it, great, and they don't like it, hey, that's great too. If you're not rubbing some people the wrong way, you're not trying hard enough. I believe that in life. I believe that in business. If you're going to be a taste that people enjoy, there are going to be some people that don't like it. So,
amen.
So
I'm not everybody's cup of tea, Jay.
Good.
Minter checking in from Twitter says at my best friend's funeral they played Ripple. Thanks, Minter. Like a long distance dedication.
As long as they didn't drink Ripple, I think they'll be. I think it was okay. But the McCarthy was an homage to my past, and then the Edison, obviously the light bulbs, and some respect to Thomas Edison. And as I like to joke sometimes, the company is inspiration by Edison, so it's perspiration by McCarthy.
That's a chandelier over your head too.
It's actually a couple of them.
So you're living on the edge. You're like, every day's a risk. I walk under chandeliers all the time.
I think everyone should have a chandelier or two in their shop. You know, I mean, there's nothing like product and tasteful lighting.
So Kara wants to know, you're sitting in a great workshop. How much hands-on stuff do you get time to do? I
build everything that you see on the website and everything that goes out the door right now. It's except for those light bulbs. Everything I build, but eventually the idea is to scale to a point where I've got a group of people and I can be hands-on both with the marketing but also with the design, because I don't know that I'm as great at building 16 of the same table as I am designing 16 different ones.
I have one really stupid question about, did you do the photography as well? Because that's like filming those light bulbs is harder than anyone would ever imagine.
I did.
That's insane. How did you do that?
I think there are 2 or 3 photos on there of more recent pieces, but all of the photography, the exception of 2 of them, 2 of the lights, I did myself. Photographing the light bulbs was a heavy amount of YouTube. Peter McKinnon is a guy.
I love Peter.
Peter, I learned a lot from Peter. Aaron at Flern, PHLEARN, and just looking through. Thank you, Jack. Looking through different things and trying to adapt that. There aren't any really great videos about how to photograph filaments of light bulbs, and so some of it I had to make up. Some of it is multiple exposures and HDR and compositing. Wow. I didn't know how to use Photoshop when I started doing this. It's just been a massive vertical learning curve.
I didn't want to Mike Wazowski you, but everybody really likes your craftsmanship.
Oh my gosh. The statement headboard makes a statement.
Well, the neat thing about that I probably have to do a better job of capturing is not only do the light bulb, the lights that are on the outside that are the electrical insulators, the glass ones, the doorknobs that are below them are the dimmer switches.
Oh,
the recess that's in there that's got the 2 long tubular Edison bulbs, there's a hidden dimmer switch for that, and then the shelf below it actually lifts up and there's a hole in the back of it so you can route your cables from the inside of the compartment, and there's actually a charging outlet. So you got 2 plugs and 2 USBs in there, so you can plug your stuff, you can stash your stash, you can. I try to. A friend of mine had said, you need to become more whimsical, you need to be more creative, and has pushed me to.
He's right.
To incorporate. We call it go-go gadget elements. I've got a table. hidden compartment. I like stuff that's a little off the beaten path and stuff.
Secrets.
Shelli
Yes.
backstage says, "Stunning work, Jay. So beautiful. What an artist."
Well, we're going to bring her up
Excellent.
front stage, Shelli. So ready, here we go. Listen, one other thing I got to say about that, Jay, is that those doorknob dimmers, can they support any kind of strapping? Asking for a friend.
You don't have to answer that, Jay.
Where's
God,
my
what a
yellow
ridiculous
card?
question.
Speaking of whimsical,
We'll send you a headboard and you can do some testing.
Sorry, we're on a delay here.
Send me that
All right.
headboard. That is a terrible idea. Shelli Johnson's back because that's what we do here.
Carol says, "It's perfect for tiny houses, Jack." And Kara says, "Whimsical leads uniqueness and fun."
And that's attractive.
Entirely true.
Fun is attractive. That's what we like to say around these parts.
Scott says, "You've got to succeed as a solopreneur. You have to learn about things that are unrelated to your business, or maybe like tangentially related." Kara is shocked. You've managed to shock us, Scott.
Listen,
You're
Scott
welcome.
would know. They would ask that question a different way. That's all.
you were seeing if people were listening, right?
It's a
You're like,
test.
"Can I hang off that chandelier?" Or
Right. Did you
gotta
send
have a
one to
beam.
Sia? That's what I need to know. Did Sia get one of these?
So
Anyway.
what do you think of that story, Shelli? Is that not uncommon that people experience like a personal loss and then realize, kind of re-examine their life?
Yes. Jay, I'm sorry for your loss, even if it was 15 years ago. That's I can only imagine. So I'm sorry for that. But thanks for sharing the story. And yes, Carrie, I think that's it causes, when we lose someone, it causes us to take stock of our life. I think when I was reinventing myself, I lost a friend named Lori Barney. She died instantly from an aneurysm. And I remember going to her funeral, and I remember thinking, how inspired I was to live more, right? But usually that wears off after about a week, right after the funeral. So sorry to ramble, but anyway, yes, that I do agree. And Jay, I'm sorry for your loss, but wow, he'd be so proud. Look what you created. I'm so impressed.
Thank
Beautiful
you.
stuff. Yeah.
I got to be with him, and shortly before he died, I was able to tell him I would have taken 32 years with him over 64 with anybody else.
Yeah.
Just you have to. Life is very much a choice between a reaction and a response, and you take the things that happen to you and you decide how you want to respond. And you can let it stuff you in a corner and wallow away, or you can say I'm gonna seize this as the message, and it's just a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
Even when people try to support you and tell you to do what you want to do, I think there's a lot of internal pressure we put on ourselves to try and figure out, sure, but like, what is it that they want me to do? Like, that seems to happen a lot, where people are like, but it would definitely make her happy if I did this thing. So even though she says, go out and do your own thing, I feel like, I feel like people corner themselves.
Oh, no question. I also think that you need a healthy balance of that. Don't listen to the critics, except for the critics you can trust. I think one of the best examples of that is American Idol, and you watch the auditions, and there are people on there that probably should have been professional singers for 20 years, and they're giving it one shot because somebody convinced them, look, just go audition. And then there are the people that are surrounded by friends that don't have the guts to go, maybe you shouldn't go on national television and do that. So you find the right critics and listen to them. Many of us are our own worst critics, and sometimes we need to not listen to ourselves and go ahead and forge on anyway.
Dare to fail.
And Chip says Chris could never be a train conductor with as often as he goes off the rails.
No, I think I do just fine.
And Jack says he was frontally hit by a car 2.5 years ago, very thin margin. And paradoxically, today he's glad it happened.
Wow.
Wow, it's right.
I had to totally throw away my last sentence. So listen, the thing that Jay said, I want to put a little highlighter on too, is that, one of my early inspirations, like when I was trying to learn how to be who I wanted to be, was Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. I did that weird thing where I actually tried to execute on the book instead of just read it because someone told me to. And humankind's greatest ability is the ability between stimulus and response. It's that ability to choose. And Jay said it. Jay said, I could have done whatever, but I had to really think what I wanted to choose there. And that was a really important word to come throwing out. It also ties a little bit to that notion of what Shelli was saying too, of just the fact that, also Jay talking about critics, specifically Shelli said earlier, I was thinking about the fact that if we listen to the voices outside of us, we're doomed anyway, right? Because neither critics nor praise helps us get where we need to go. We really have to kind of find our way. And then what's better is a mentor. Like you said, you looked at Peter McKinnon videos until you figured out how to do something. I'm sure you sure as shit didn't know how to make things like, secret compartment headboards until you looked around.
Chris, my experience with woodwork before I started doing this was shop class in 8th grade. I literally did not mean to go in the furniture business. I was going to build some lamps, and then somebody asked me to make a table. And it was like, maybe I'll do this for a few more months and before I start hunting for a chief marketing officer job. And like I said, 4.5 years later, there are those that have called me crazy. Many of them were right.
You're crazy. Thank goodness they were.
Thank you.
Oops, what button did I mean to hit?
Me.
This one. I wanted to show that table. Speaking of tables, because now you have the live edge console table. Did you have to learn all those words? By the way, that's my last Jay specific question. But did you have to learn all those words like console table?
Oh, I still have to Google them every once in a while. In fact, when I was making the listing for that one, I'm like, yeah, it's the table that sits behind the sofa. What do they call the sofa table? The sofa table, and console table is a little more universal. So, yeah.
It's the first date place to put your keys. That's what I was thinking that table was called. I don't know what they're going to be.
I'll make a different one and call it the Brogan key table.
I like it. I'll take that.
Just big enough for keys.
In putting these shows
that's
together,
not the Brogan thing you need to make, by the way. We both know it needs to be something that can take like a lot of weight.
Beatings. When we make these shows, one of the things we look for is alchemy. And so we always are sort of secretly looking for what's a weird combo that would never make sense. So adventure coach or a champion for hire with furniture guy, doesn't immediately make sense, especially because they didn't know that you'd done an Ironman, which is an adventure all on its own. But if you had to imagine where Shelli would come home to and like sit and relax, it would be next to that console table with all those kind of old timey lights and all that sort of stuff. If she can't be outdoors by a fire, she might as well have those kinds of furnishings. That's what I figure. I've just built like the Shelli action figure set with Edison McCarthy's furniture.
The commonality
of some of that furniture, Jay.
The commonality of being galvanized by a personal tragedy to live the life you want.
Yes.
It's powerful.
Too. Carol says the ability to choose our response. She's been thinking about that a lot lately. Like what separates us from animals, our ability to reject our first impulse.
Yes. I mean, it's Viktor Frankl, right? That's what we're talking about. His
man's search for meaning.
Yep. I mean, that's what saved him during 3 years of Nazi concentration camps. Yeah. Pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
I read something similar about John McCain saying while he was imprisoned, he envisioned like a whole life outside of there and what he would be doing and almost in real time, like 24, the concept was you see 24 hours elapse in real time. It was like that, sort of for him.
Over today, I should be doing the lawn. I can't believe it's grown so tall. I left it a few days, and he was thinking that when they're like whacking him. Yeah. All right. So the way the show works, it's called the backpack. The idea is we have to put something in our metaphorical backpacks because we can't build on solid ground right now. Everything's shaky. So you can only carry a backpack around with you. The question to both Shelli and Jay is, what do you put in the backpack to make the next 5 years a little better? Shelli Johnson, what do you have in mind?
It would definitely be self-compassion because I'm just so self-critical that it affects my ability. It affects my journey and it affects my ability to have a positive impact. So something I'm always working on is just being a little more understanding and then,
You're self-critical while you're getting to the top of the mountain. You're like, I can't, I'm so bad, but you do it.
Yeah. Well, so many of us, we don't do things because we don't want to look bad, right? I think that's such a tragedy, but yeah. So I think it would be self-compassion, I think.
We'll take it. Jay Medwetz, what do you say? What goes in the backpack from you? And by the way, Jay was kind enough to show his actual backpack that he takes to the shop all the time and brings everywhere. It was kind of fun to see that on LinkedIn.
That was a off the cuff sort of, what can I use to sort of create a visual? And I went, well, how about a backpack? That literally is. It's been to Guatemala a couple times and all around the country, and it is an integral part and also a great metaphor because I speak in metaphors a lot. But it seems like the theme today has been perseverance, and I think in order to persevere, you need support. So I would put support in the backpack, and I mean that in terms of personal support, having a muse, a mentor, someone or somebody who pushes you to do better, who says you can do this when you even yourself don't believe it, be it a coach or a friend or family that gives you the just a little bit of energy, the energy bar to push that last 5 miles of the marathon or to the top of the mountain. But in that support, also faith. And I think that's faith in yourself, faith in others around you, and faith in something greater, whatever that may be. I mean, personally for me, it's God. And I believe that we're all put on this earth to serve each other. And so we must support each other as much as we gain support or get support from others.
I believe it was George Michael who said, "You've got to have faith.
I was really hoping you would go there.
I performed that song acoustically at PodCamp Europe in Stockholm, Sweden, and then a few months later was invited back to apologize for that. Person of the day today. It's time to bring up our person of the day. I chose Cara Elena because Chris, oh my God, because really showed so much bravery last week and came on live, and that was so cool. And I thought that, what a good way to do that. Now, remember, you can make a stupid show of your own like this at cbrogan.me/StreamYard. You were blessed to see Shelli Johnson and Jay Medwetz today. This is a show full of confidence. Do not waste that. Do not leave this show and think, my goodness, I'm going to go back and see what else I have to do for my day. Don't think about your stupid ass to-do list, because you're